Hello, my lovely students. Today we're going to talk about angle theorems. I hope you find this topic a little bit easier. I'm not sure, but some of you find this difficult. Um, so let's see how learn this, right? So first of all, this is the very first page that I sent you. It covers all the angle theorems. These, remember, this test is a closed book. You need to remember these by heart. First one is adjacent angles on a straight line sum to 180. Right, so this is a straight line, right? And two angles sharing on this 180. So that means they add up must be 180, right? The word adjacent just means they are next to each other, right? On a straight line. Okay, if they don't overlap, right? And next to one another, separated by a ray. A ray is just a line. Now, the second one is angles at a point, sum up to 360. We learned that angles are a result of revolution, right? Of rotation. This is a rotation of 360, right? Of course, a full turn is 360, so that's why angles around a point add up to 360. All right? Now, vertically opposite angles are equal. This one, two straight lines, right? They must be straight lines, right? If they are not straight lines, that doesn't work. So if I draw it like this is not angles on vertically opposite. These are not vertically opposite angles. Okay, so they must be two straight lines intersecting, and then the opposite angles they are equal. So A equals B, D equals C. Okay, they offer some examples. Uh, so find the missing angle given the appropriate geometric reason. So in the test, you must say the reason, right? So they're given on a straight line. You have two angles. One is 43. What is the other one? That's pretty much what it's saying. So you go 180 minus 43 because they are sharing one straight angle, which is 180. So 180 minus 42. Now this one, find the missing angle given the reasons, right? So this is angles around the point. So the revolution is, of course, 360 degrees, right? 360 degrees. And then so A is 360 minus 105 minus 92 minus 65 is 98 degrees, right? And the reason is angles at a point. Right? And these are vertically opposite angles. That's 140, 45, 54. Must also be 154. Okay, so for you to revise, right? So you need to, oh wait, we'll just talk about these questions for now. Right, so this question is, obviously you have to use angles on a straight line, right? So this is 180 minus 38. Wait, this is 142 degrees. So angle A equals, right? And you must also state the reason in bracket. Angles on a line. That's enough, right? And this one, there are three angles sharing 180. So you'd go angle B equals 180 minus 42 minus 24. This is 114 degrees. Okay, and the reason still you can write like this: angles on a line, right? That's also fine. And then this one, obviously, it's again the same thing. Three angles sharing 180. The common mistake is you forget to know this angle is right angle. Right angle is what size? 90 degrees, right? So Angle C equals 180 minus 48 minus 90, right? Which is 42 degrees. Okay. Then you also have to write it angles on a line, right? This reinforces your memory and shows that you follow a very logical path. Mm, In the test, you must also write this, right? The question will say show geometric reasoning. That's another way of saying you have to write the sentence, right? This one the same, right? Just realize this is like a straight line and three angles are sharing a straight line. So angle D equals 180 minus 39 minus 103. Okay, so that's 142 is 38 degrees, right? And then again, right angles on a line. Now this one's still the same, right? It's just about realizing this is 90 degrees. So angle E equals 180 minus 90 minus 78, which is 12 degrees, right? Again, you have to write angles on a line. Now, things gets a little bit trickier here, right? Why there are two F's? The reason is this is algebra showing they are of the same size, right? Now you have to use uh, the same thing, right? So now the three angles sharing 180, one being 64, right? So that means 180 minus 64 is 116 degrees. But the 116 degrees is two angles of the same equal size. So each angle is 116 divided by 2. So 58 degrees. Right? Again, this we also use angles on a line. Okay? Now, this is figured out the same way, right? Think about three angles sharing 180, but we have to use a little bit of algebra. What that means is one angle is 4G, and one angle is 4G, and one angle is 2G. They add up to 180. Now, if you learn in algebra how to solve uh, equations, then this will become easy. Four grapes plus four grapes plus two grapes is how many grapes? It's 10 grapes, right? 10 grapes equals to 180. So one grape is 18 degrees. Right, again, here we used angles on the line. Now, this one is the same thing. It's two angles. One angle is 5 each. The other angle is 7 lots of each. 5 lots of each, 7 lots of each. So in total, we have 5 each plus 7 each equals to 180 degrees. Again, this is angles on a line. You must also write this sentence a lot of these every single time you're applying this theorem. Right, so this is 12 h equals 180 degrees. So h equals uh, 15 degrees. However, figuring out g and h are not the final answer. You have to also figure out the angles, right? So this angle is 4 grapes. So it's 18 times 4. This is 72. And this is also 72. And this is 2 lots of grapes, which is 36. And you can verify they add up to 180. Figuring this as h equals 15. So 5 times 15, which is 75 degrees. And this is 105 degrees. Okay? Now, I hope this angle on a straight line makes more sense. Now here, we're shifting to another theorem, which is called angles around a point add up to 360s. Okay, so now we know this is a full revolution. So this is angle I equals to 360 minus 135 minus 91. This will give you, this is a bit of work. This is a 220, 225, 225 minus 90 is 100 and 225 is 134. Okay, right? So and then you have to write it. You have to write as uh, angles around the point, right? And then the same thing here. This is angle J equals to 360 minus 106 minus 108 minus 85. Okay, so you can use calculator or you can use your mental strategy, right? So this is 214.85, 299, so that's 61 degrees. Okay, now this is a little bit special because they want you to realize this is a right angle, which is 90, right? So angle K equals, oh wait, by the way, I forgot. The right angles around a point, right? This is 360 minus 104 minus 58 minus 90. Don't forget the 90, otherwise you end up with the wrong answer. So angle K is, so 104, 90 as 270 minus 104, which is 166 minus 58, 108. Okay, so 108 degrees. All right, so this is angles around a point. Now this is a little bit easier, right? Because there are only two angles sharing the full circle. So angle M equals 360 minus 36 degrees, right? I hope it makes sense. Now this is angle M equals to 324 degrees. And then again, you have to write angles around a point. Right? They are all the same. Now, here comes a little bit of algebra, right? So we have to use 360 minus 112 minus 116, right? Uh, okay, so 360, you take off this, and you take off this. What's remaining are two angles of the same size, right? So this is 228, that's 132. Okay, now, but this 132 is shared between two equal angles. So each angle is angle n equals to 132 divided by 2, 66 degrees. Now, again, you used angles around a point, right? I hope it makes sense. Now, here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 potatoes, right? One potato, two potato, three potato, five potatoes add up to 360. So that's exactly five potatoes, 360. Now, one potato is 360 divided by 5. Remember, this is division concept. You are sharing 360 amongst the 5 equal parts, right? So the answer is 72 degrees. And again, you have to write angles around a point. Okay? Now, here you have Gloria, Gloria, Gloria. I'm going inside. Thank you. Please. Right, so here you have three angles. One is 4Q, 173 and 63. So you first use 360 minus 173 minus 63. The answer is, this is 236. This is 124 degrees. Okay, but this 124 is 4Q, right? Well, you can say this is the answer, 124 degrees. But if you want to figure out Q, so 4Q is 124. So, so Q equals to 31 degrees. Okay, but then our final answer, we should really focusing on 4Q. Now, again, we have to say we used angles around a point, right? Now, don't forget this sentence. It's very important, right? It strengthens your memory. It also tells the reader your logic, right? So now I write it every time. I expect you to write it every time. Okay. Um, so this one again. Now, you, do you have to use angles around a point? No. The answer is no. Well, how do I know? Look, you have to think about the size of the angle, right? This obviously looks like a straight line. And this is 26. 26, is that a large angle or small angle? It's definitely a small angle. So they must mean this angle is 26, right? You have to use a little bit of guessing, right? They don't mean that this is 26. This cannot be 26, right? If this is 20, this obviously is a reflex angle, must be over 180. So 26 is a very small angle, so this is 26. Then we don't have to use angles on, around a point. We can directly use angles on a straight line, right? We know 57, R, and 26 add up to 180. So we use to figure out R as 180 minus 57 minus 26, right? The answer is 70, 80, 83. So that's 97. So again, we have to write the reasoning, but this time is angles on a line. Okay, now let's see the next one. This one moves on to the next theorem, which is vertically opposite angles. You see, these are two straight lines cutting each other, right? And these are opposite. They must be two straight lines, right? And then this is 127, so S is also 127. Now, the reason is vertically opposite, right? This is enough, right? And then how to figure out T? You see S and T, they share one straight line, right? So T is 180 minus 127, which is 53 degrees. Now, again, you have to write the reasoning. Angles on a line, right? I hope this makes sense. You have to use multiple reasonings, and this is like a sort of like a low merit question. Anything with more than one logic is merit, right? So this is again, right? You see two straight lines intercutting each other, so that means U is 94. They are vertically opposite, right? So you have again writing down the reasoning, right? And then you can use angles on a straight line to figure out V. It doesn't matter which straight line you use, you will regardless reach, let's see that straight line, okay? So that 94 you have, right? So that V equals 180 minus 94, which is 86 degrees, right? So this is angles on a line. And the rest of the questions are all the same, right? So again, here, two straight lines opposite, so W equals 157 degrees. Again, right, vertically opposite angles. Now, to figure out x and y, you just have to pick a straight line, right? So let's pick this straight line. You save 157 and x sharing the straight line, so x equals 180 minus 157 equals to 23 degrees. And this is angles on a line, right? Now, after you figure the x, you can figure out y because they are vertically opposite, right? So x and y are vertically opposite. Okay. Now this one is the same, all right? So this is 75. So obviously z is equal to 75, right? The reason is vertically opposite. And then now, if you know this is 75 on a straight line, A is angle A is 180 minus the 75, which is 105. Now we used angles on a line. And then after if you go to A, B is easy. B is also 105. The reason is vertically opposite, right? Now here, algebra again. This is 148. The 2C is also 148. We automatically know the angle is 148, right? Uh, this is by vertically opposite, right? So C is 74 degrees, right? So the same thing here, right? So 95 and 5D are the same. So 5D equals 95, right? Again, I write it, so you should write it as well, right, guys? Don't be lazy. So D, we can figure out this is, we can directly write this as 95. So D is 5, 5 dogs is 95, and one dog is 119 degrees, right? And then after we figure that out, we have to figure out the E using a straight line. Oh, it's actually easier if you think about this, right? So this is 95, so E is 180 minus 95, which is 85 degrees. Now the reason is angles on a line, right? Now this is easy, right? So two straight line cutting each other. So angle F is 37 degrees, vertically opposite, right? And angle G is 180 minus 37, which is 143 degrees. Angles on a line. Okay, now this is very easy to do. Angle H is 28. Now vertically opposite. Now angle I is 180 minus 28, which is 152. The reason is angles on a line. And then angle J is the same as angle I, which is 152 because vertically opposite. Okay. Now, um, these are the merit questions. Now let's just move on to some of the interior and exterior angles. Now this is a triangle. You need to know that the sum of the three angles are the inner corners. 3, adding them up, is 180. And the exterior angles, adding up to be 360. Okay? Now, well, to see y, right, we'll have to see the y in class. But you just remember this for now. Okay? So inside three corners, they add up to 180. Outside three corners add up to 360. Um, right. Let's just see this one, right? This is a very simple case, right? So A is 180 minus 54 minus 39, right? I have to add 13 is 87 degrees. Okay, you always have to write the reasoning, right? So this is some angles triangle, right? I always write it this way, right? Some angles triangle is 180, right? Now this B, you often fail to realize this is a right angle, which is 90, right? So that B equals 180 minus 90 minus 62. Angle B is 28. Now, again, some angles triangle, right? I write it every time. I expect you to write it every time, right? We'll focus on triangle now, right? So that the angle C can be figured out easily using 180 minus 114 minus 37 equals, let's say, 1415129 degrees. Now again, some angles triangle, right? And then we figure out D. Now, then we focus on, so after we focus on the triangle, we can focus on the straight line. We see that C and D share a straight line, so angle D equals 180 minus 29, which is 151 degrees. Okay, and this is angles on a line. Right, a lot of these questions can be figured out using this way, right? First, the focus on triangle, right? We can figure out angle E. Right, angle E is 180 minus 33 minus 44, which is 103. Now, some angles triangle. And then we can figure out angle G, right? Because this is 103, angle G is 180 minus 103, which is a 77 degrees. Now, the reason is angles on a line. Angle, this F can be figured out directly using this straight line, right? Angle F is 180 minus 33, which is 147. Again, angles on a line. Okay. Now, here it just become a little bit tedious because H equals, we're focusing on the triangle, right? What are the three inner corners of the triangle? Is 28, 94, and H. H is 180 minus 28 minus 94, which is 122. Is 57 degrees, right? 57 degrees. Now the reason is some angles triangle. And then we can use angles on a straight line. So this is 57, right? If you use that one, right, K can be figured out using 180 minus 57, which is 123 degrees, right? And then similarly, J can be figured out. 180 minus 94, which is 96. Wait. 86. 86 degrees. And then I is 180 minus 28 is 152 degrees. Right? Does that make sense? Okay, so then we write down the reasoning. So these are angles on a line. Okay? Now, this question 59 introduces a new concept, which are the dash. The dash means the two sides are equal. Right? Let's see what the examples say. The examples say when they are equal, right? A triangle with two equal lengths is called an isosceles triangle. You must know this. This is a merit question. This will be a merit question in your test, right? Now, it's not only limited to the sides. It has implication to the angles. What that means to the angle is their base angles equal, right? Base angles equal, right? When the sides are equal. Okay, so that means M and N, they are equal. Okay, now what does that mean? That's the same thing as saying this is also an M. Okay, and then using a little bit of algebra, 180 minus 54 is 126. So three angles add up to 180. If I take off this 54, leaving you two angles is 126. And they are equal, so each angle must be 63 degrees. Okay? So that leaves you m equals n equals 63 degrees. Right? I hope it makes some sense. Now, this is, if when we're writing a reasoning, we say this, right? Base angles of isosceles triangle equal. Okay? Now, and then after we figure out these are 63, and you can verify they add up to 180, right? Then P can be easily figured out using 180 using this straight line. 180 minus 63 is 117 angles on a line. Now these just adding more of these things, right? These are definitely merit questions, high merit questions. Okay, focusing on this triangle, we can figure the R. 180 minus 47 minus 74. This is a 121, and that's 59 degrees. Now the reason is some angles triangle. Now, after we figure out the R, right, we can then focus on this isosceles triangle. Now, where are the base angles? The base angles are this and this. Now, to figure these out, you must know this, right? Okay, so it just turns out you can figure out every angle, right? So this angle, but then how to figure out this angle? It's a straight line with 74. So let's just use a different label, right? They call this Q, this S, R, let's call this A, right? Angle A, you can free label any, you're allowed to label any angle you want. Angle A is 180 minus 74, which is 106 degrees. Now the reason is angles on a line. Now, when this is 106, the two base angles are easily figured out by focusing on the triangle. So is 180 minus 106 is 74 degrees. And then that 74 degrees is shared between the two angles. So Q equals 74 over 2, which is 37 degrees. Now this is base angles of isosceles triangle equal, right? Now if Q is 37 and this angle is also 37, then S can be figured out using angles on a line, right? So S equals 180 minus 37, which is 143 degrees. Now angles on a line. Okay, then this question is easy. You can figure this out by yourself. Now this is 78, this is 112. And then these sharing them together. So 180 minus 112, the answer is 68. And so each one is 68 divided by 2 is 34. Okay? I hope it makes some sense. Now, this is moving on to the next one, which is the interior angle of a quadrilateral add up to 360. This is also a merit question for you. Okay? Now, all of the inner corners add up to, so we can think of as the corners of a classroom add up to 360, right? Now, this A is 360 minus 58 minus 118 minus 43. So angle A is, right, you just do a calculation. This is a 176, 43, 219. 360 minus 219, 141. Okay, so you always have to write, right? You see this is the shorthand? interior angles of quad. Okay, that's enough, right? You just have to show the reader your logic. Now, this is a tricky question because you always fail to ignore the 90 degree, right? So B is 360 minus 90 minus 118 minus 35. Right, so B equals this is 270 minus 118. I'll just add these up. So 153, so 127. So 127 degrees. Now again, interior angles of a quad. Okay? Now, this one, it's the same thing. This is a quadrilateral. What does quadrilateral mean? As any four-sided polygon is a quadrilateral. The interior angles uh, add up to 400 and um, 360. Okay. Now this is 360 minus 106 minus 78 minus 111. Right. So angle C equals this. C equals 184, 111, 295. So that's 65 degrees, right? Interior angles of a quad. Now, these are just all the same stuff, right? Now, the thing with this question is you can use angles on a straight line to figure out E, right? So that's 56. And then you're only leaving F to figure out, right? So it just becomes tedious. Mm, okay, so for this is called, this is also quadrilateral, right? You can use this to figure out the same thing, right? So C is 360 minus this, minus this, minus these three angles, and then use angles on a straight line to figure out D. Okay, I hope this explains a lot. Now, the last thing I want to show you is how can you do revision? Now, every day after you completed some work, remember you have to memorize all the angle theorems, right? So, what is the angle theorem? What angle theorems have you learned? You have to recall, right? You can do a table like this, right? Angle theorems, and then example, right? So write down the angle theorems and then give it an example, right? So we learned today angles on a straight line add up to 180. Okay, so let me write this better. Angles on a straight line add up to 180. Not not only do you have to recall the effect, but also you have to give an example, right? Without an example, you don't know where to apply, right? So the example looks like this, right? There's A, this is B, or it can have number, right? So this is 20, right? You know how to figure out A is 180 minus 20 was 160. This is how you do it. And the next one we learned was angles around a point at up to 360 degrees. Okay, do you remember an example? Right, so this is this, and let's say this. Right, so this is 120. This is 90. 90 with the special thing, right? 90. This is 26. And what is this? A equals to 360 minus 26 minus 90 minus 120, right? And then the third thing we learned was vertically opposite angles equal, right? What does that mean, right? Two straight lines, they cut into equal angles. If this is 120, then this angle A also equals to 120. Okay. Now, and then what did we learn? We will learn that some angle sum of interior angles of a triangle. Uh, Interior angles of a triangle add up to 180 degrees. Now, again, give an example, right? An example is simple, right? So I'd say this is 40, this is 60, and then this is A equals 180 minus 40 minus 60, right? Which is 80 degrees. Now, this is how you do this. And then we learned what? Exterior angles of a triangle add up to 360 degrees. Now, this is, are you able to draw the exterior angles, right? The exterior angles are like this, right? So you extend every line in the same direction, and they're here. Okay, so they add up to 360. Okay, and then what did we learn? We learned sum angle, sum of interior angles of a quadrilateral is 360 degrees. Now, do you remember how to do that? Right? So this is a four-sided polygon, right? This is a right angle, right? 40, this is a 150, and what is A? So A is 360 minus 90 minus 40 minus 150. Okay? So now, lastly, uh, is there a lastly? No, this is everything we learned so far, right? I think, oh no, there's one more, right? Uh, Isosceles triangle. Base angles of an isosceles triangle equal. Okay, now we have to draw right. So then these two angles are equal. A equals B. Okay. Now I think that's everything we've learned so far. Okay. Now I hope you learned something. Well, every day, right? I recommend you to recall these facts every day since it's lockdown. You have time. Okay, guys, stay safe. Right. I'll see you next time.